Hello there, you ravishing person you. This is Chris from TechSpert, and I'm here with Motorola's new One Hyper, the latest in a relentless succession of new Motorola One smartphones that will be hitting the UK. It's just about to come out over here in Blighty for just under £300, and despite that relatively wallet-friendly asking price, it's got some really impressive tech, including a pop-up selfie camera, a 4000 mAh battery supporting 45-watt hypercharging, and a 64-megapixel rear camera. So as usual, what we're going to do is we'll get the Motorola One Hyper pulled out of its lovely purple box. I'll take you on a full tour of the hardware and the software so you know everything you need to know ahead of my full in-depth review, where we'll go a bit more detail into the performance, the battery life, everything else. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So that's the actual phone itself. Let's just dunk that aside for now, see exactly what else you get in the box. So the usual pamphlets, literature, etc. A nice bit of 3-pin plug action, and of course a bit of Type-C USB in order to charge up the Motorola One Hyper as well. And you also of course get a nice bit of wired headphone action as well. Definitely looks like pretty basic stuff, although they do at least have a nice rubbery silicone tip, so that's something this should be fairly comfortable to wear. But I'm expecting they'll be alright to sort of bung in your bag as a backup emergency pair, and that's probably about it. Now at the start of the video I mentioned that the Motorola One Hyper supports 45-watt hypercharging capabilities. Unfortunately, you don't actually get a hypercharger bundled in the box. As you can see here, it's actually a turbo power adapter which runs at 27 watts instead of 45 watts. And indeed, rather sneakily here on the box, so you'll see it says plus 45-watt charging capable with the little asterisk. And if you bother to hunt that down on the side of the box, you'll see there Motorola 45-watt charger sold separately, not available in all regions. So you'll actually have to hunt down your own hypercharger adapter if you want to take advantage of that feature. But anyway, enough of that brouhaha. Let's turn our attention to the actual smartphone itself, the Motorola One Hyper in all of its glory. Just peel off that little bit of protective sticker action. As you can see there, it does actually come pre-wrapped in a prophylactic case, just to help to keep it nice and pristine, so you can choose to keep that on if you like, or if you're a bit more manly than me, then you can prise it off and just go naked as God intended. And immediately, I'm really liking that deep sea blue finish. It's the only colour variant available here in the UK. It's not much of a variant really, but hopefully there'll be different hues also available later on. Gotta say, this is one of the more sexy Motorola smartphones that I've clasped in my hands in recent times, right up there along with the Motorola One Zoom. Very funky, almost gradient style pattern as well. When you sort of like tilt it to the light, you'll see it so it shines in different hues. Nice bit of Motorola branding right there as well, as you can see. You've got that rear mounted physical fingerprint sensor, which is slightly indented so you can easily fumble for it when needed, and of course that camera grille as well. As you said, just a dual lens snapper, but hopefully should do the trick. Slightly sticky out, slightly jutting from the surface there, and of course you've got this rather unique sort of strip band design as well, and of course you've got the pop-up selfie camera just there, which we'll test out in a bit. And the Motorola One Hyper is unfortunately constructed from plastic, so I'm not entirely sure how durable it will be. You might want to keep that transparent cover slapped on there just to keep it in good nick. But it does have a water repellent coating at least, and I'll certainly be testing out the ruggedness. So let's see, hopefully we've got some gas in the tank. Yep, there we go, already starting up. So I'll get the Motorola One Hyper all set up right now, and then we'll take a proper full-on tour of the hardware and the rest of it.
Hello, Moto.
Now, if we yank out the old SIM tray, you'll see there that it can actually take 2 SIM cards at once, simultaneously. Otherwise, you can also slap a micro SD memory card in there. It takes micro SD memory cards up to 1 terabyte in size. Those are supported, and you've got 128 gigs of storage on there as well. Right, so the Motorola One Hyper is all set up, and one of the first things you'll notice about it, and absolutely does, the fact that it's actually running the latest version of Android 10. So not hanging around waiting for updates or anything. As you can see there, you've already got the dark mode enabled and everything, so it's great to see that it actually comes out of the box. And as this is a Motorola blower, there's been minimal tampering with that stock version of Android as well, so it's basically pretty much premium Android features on there. You do get the Moto experiences, as they term them as well though, which you can access via the Moto app here, and that just adds a variety of extra bonus features on top, which are mostly actually pretty damn good. Most of these bonus bits are found in the Moto action section. It's basically a bunch of gesture support. So for instance, flip for do not disturb. It gets to nighttime, stick the phone face down on your nightstand. You don't have to worry about scheduling the do not disturb or anything like that. Great stuff. Fast torch, of course, you've got a nice bit of karate chop action. Cha-cha! And boom, there you go. Absolutely blinding. Ow! Dumbass. You got quick and easy screenshot taker, stuff like that. The swipe to shrink is basically a one-handed mode. Very, very handy indeed. All you need to do is swipe towards one corner of the Motorola One Hyper, and as you can see there, it unfortunately pulls down the notifications bar quite often, but it does also miniaturize the screen, which is very handy when you've got a mighty 6.5-inch beast like the Motorola One Hyper. So yes, you can use all your apps and everything in this mode as well, which is great. And then when you're done, you should just be able to tap this black border bit, but that doesn't seem to be doing anything helpfully. Swiping, nope, that doesn't do anything. Okay, just turn the phone off and on again, and that seems to get rid of it. That's probably a little bug that needs to be ironed out, methinks. And then, yeah, the rest of the launcher is basically just pretty much stock Android, so nice and simple and straightforward. And of course, you've got the gesture controls as well, so that's brilliant. So you can go back with a little swipe from the side like so, pull up your recent apps just by dragging up and holding. So yeah, really nice and intuitive. Now let's move from the software onto the hardware. And of course, one of the major advantages here of the Motorola One Hyper compared with the rest of the Motorola One lineup and lots of other smartphones around this price point is the fact that you've got a notchless display. It's a complete full view display, as I believe they term it. 6.5 inches, so it should be great for all of your media needs. It's an IPS panel and it's full HD resolution as well, so hopefully it should prove nice and crisp. So yeah, certainly just watching a bit of full HD trailer action here on good old YouTube, and that full view finish definitely doing it great justice indeed. Looks absolutely stunning stuff. Nice natural color reproduction and some pretty decent detail as well, despite the size of that panel. So yeah, for enjoying a bit of Netflix or Amazon Prime Video or your streaming service of choice, this should definitely do a bang-up job for that sub £300 price point. As for the speaker setup, well, it's just a single mono speaker down below, unfortunately. Let's just jack the volume up to max.
Place like someone just bunged a cactus right up their poop chute to share with random strangers.
Yep, so it certainly seems to be reasonably punchy, not too sort of staticky or anything like that on top volume, with reasonable power as well. Of course, shame it's only a mono speaker setup, not a stereo speaker setup, but the good news is you do at least get a bit of headphone jack action somewhere on this thing. There we go. So if you don't want to rely on a bit of Bluetooth, you can just connect a pair of wired headphones like the ones you get bundled in the box. Hooray! Providing the power is a Snapdragon 675 chipset backed by 4 gigs of RAM, and certainly right now, even though I'm still in the process of setting up the Motorola One Hyper, it's still busy downloading apps in the background and all sorts, it seems to be absolutely fine for the general performance. As you can see, that's sort of fairly smooth, so hopefully for your everyday shenanigans it should be absolutely no worries at all. I've got a bit of PubG downloaded, so I'll make sure I give that a full-on testing ahead of the in-depth review as well. As for the battery tech, well, as I mentioned before, it's a 4000 milliamp cell in there, so hopefully it should do you all day no problem, especially as it's a nice stock version of Android, no heavy clunky overlay on top or anything like that. You've got the usual power battery saver modes and everything, and it does, as I said before, support up to 45 watt charging, but you'll only get 27 watts with the bundled charger. Now, one of the highlights of the Motorola One Hyper is of course that full view 6.5 inch display, and the other highlight is the camera tech, which seems to be pretty strong, certainly as far as the specs are concerned. So as you can see there, you get a 64 megapixel primary lens, f1.9 aperture I believe it is, and that's actually capable of shooting photos at 64 megs as well. Otherwise you can do a bit of 4-in-1 pixel binning, shoot a 16 meg image, and it should be a little bit brighter, especially good for those indoor shots, low light conditions and so on. And that is ably backed, you would hope, by an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens as well, f2.2 aperture, and that can just shoot 118 degree photos as well as video, I believe. And then there's the star of the show, the 32 megapixel selfie camera, which is actually a pop-up effort, something very rarely seen at this sort of price point. Oh, that's got quite an unusual sound to it as well. Let's just get in there with the mic so you can hear this. Wow. Very funky. And usually when a manufacturer reveals a smartphone with a pop-up camera like this, they talk about the lifespan of that mechanism, how many pop-ups you can expect before it might eventually fail. I haven't seen anything like that from Motorola, but hopefully here on the Motorola One Hyper it will prove reliable. But of course only time will really tell. And as you can see here, the camera app that you get on the Motorola One Hyper is basically the standard Motorola camera app. So it's got all of the main toggles and features you would expect. Got your auto HDR and everything. You do have a full pro manual mode as well if you want to dive on in there and have a bit of a fiddle with some of those settings manually. Boost that ISO right the way up. Have a bit of a play with the white balance, which is handy, especially if you're indoors, something like that. And as you can see there, in the Pro mode, you can shoot raw photos as well as a good bit of JPEG action, or you can do both at once. I am hoping though that the Motorola One Hyper will prove perfectly dependable in that auto mode. You've got the Motorola's usual AI smarts on board as well, so the likes of auto smile capture, gesture selfie, the smart composition, which can basically crop into a shot and make it look a bit less poo, and shot optimization as well, which basically just suggests switches addition to some of the other camera modes when required. As you can see, with a little tap here, you load up all of those bonus features. So you've got the likes of the night vision mode, which just takes shots at various exposure levels and then meshes them together to create a nicer, brighter looking shot. Got the portrait mode, of course, which allows you to add a nice bokeh style effect, and I really like it here on the Motorola smartphones. Even the budget friendly ones, it adds a really nice effect. It's fully customizable, the level of blur and everything as well. You've got a variety of effects, some of which aren't entirely naff. And as you can see here as well, this is where you swap to the ultra res mode if you want to take a proper 64 megapixel image as well. And at any point, if you want to shoot a nice sweeping vista or capture quite a dramatic looking shot, you can swap to the ultra wide angle lens like so, and then back again. Lovely stuff. No telephoto option, of course, but that's fairly much to be expected for the sort of sub £300 price point. You can also shoot video as well with a quick tap here, and I believe you can shoot up to 4K resolution. It's in full HD by standard, but as you can see there, it goes all the way up to 4K, or you can shoot full HD at 60 FPS as well. And I'll be testing the quality of that all out for my in-depth review, so stay tuned for that. And as for that selfie camera, well, once again, you can shoot up to full HD resolution video. You can shoot photos with a nice bit of portrait mode action involved as well. Though, of course, just a single lens snapper, so there's no depth sensing or anything. It's basically just uses software to add that bokeh effect. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see the level of quality. As I say, 32 megapixels, pretty good, so it should be nice, sharp, detailed pics. It'll pick up every little wrinkle, sag, bag, all the good stuff. Unfortunately, that front-facing camera can't be used for face recognition. When you're actually unlocking the smartphone, you will just have to use that rear-mounted fingerprint sensor instead. And on the subject of that rear-mounted fingerprint sensor, it does actually have an LED ring around the exterior of it as well, and that basically just acts as a notifications light for if you receive a call, a message, and it actually lights up when you're charging it as well, and that's all completely customizable within the settings. We dive into the settings menu, go to sound and lights, and then it's just in this light section here. As you can see, you can completely customize all of that for your liking. So there you have it in a nutshell. That is the Motorola One Hyper. It definitely seems like a snazzy handset for that sort of £300 price point. Be interesting to see how that selfie camera holds up. Definitely, fingers crossed it won't fail at any point. Certainly the specs seem nice, and that full view display is very, very gorgeous indeed. Definitely very nice for your media needs and all the rest. So definitely please poke subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and stay tuned for the in-depth Motorola One Hyper review, and let us know your own thoughts in the comments down below. Cheers everyone, love you!